Well, good morning, everyone. Good morning. I'm really happy to see all of you today. I'm Pastor Adonia, if you don't know me. And today, I want to talk about our core identity. I was sparked to talk about this by listening to our church president, Damian Dunkley, when he was here visiting a few weeks ago. And it was just this example he gave. He shared about the, maybe you've heard of this black chicken in Korea. There's an indigenous black chicken that's from Korea, and there's only a few thousand. There's only a couple farms that protect them and breed them. But these black chickens are prized. It's the best. And these chickens are not only black. See, this is a picture. Striking, right? It's not just black feathers. They have black combs, black beaks, black eyes. But not only do they have black feathers, they also have black skin. So he talked about this, but it's hard to visualize until you see it, right? And he didn't talk about this, but when I researched it, they actually also have black meat. It's not all completely black, but there's lots of black streaks. It's really interesting. But the most interesting part is that they also have black bones. Oh my gosh, do they lay black eggs? I have to do more research. I don't know. But he was saying, I want to be like this chicken. I want to be God's, from my feathers to my bones, to my very core. And as he was sharing that, it reminded me of a topic we often visited when I was on my missions program, and they talked about what is your core identity, and they used a furniture as an example. So if you just look at a piece of furniture from a distance, you'd be like, oh yeah, it looks nice. If you come to my house, I've had a number of people say wow, that's some really nice cabinet you've got, and I'd be like, thank you. But I got it off of Wayfair, and the doors don't really open and close. And it's made out of particle board. So that's kind of like the feathers of the chicken, right? It can look nice, but they said a quality piece of furniture not only looks nice, it feels nice. And if you look at the back, and if you look inside the drawers, you can see how they're all fit together in a quality way. And also, what type of wood is it made out of? All of these things determine, is this actually a good piece of furniture? And so they were trying to prod us to look at ourselves and see, who am I really? What are my core beliefs about myself? And do my actions and my words line up with my core beliefs? But this is a big question that many people wrestle with. It's a question that I think we as individuals wrestle with, but also the society and the whole world. Who are you really on the inside? And do you even really know the answer to that question? Actually, my first question is, are you who society says you are? A lot of people are like, of course not. What a ridiculous question. So we might laugh and say no, but isn't that how many people frame their identity actually? Isn't it common for, we always worry about kids going into middle school, right? Isn't it common for young people to make decisions about themselves and their futures based on their friends group or based on the social media that's in their friends group? Influenced by celebrities and general societal ideas. I was really shocked. I found this article, documented case of people taking their own life after sharing their struggles and their miseries with AI chatbots. And the chatbot responds like a person, like, oh yeah, like I really get how you're feeling. And then the person says, I don't know, like, is it worth it to keep going? And the chatbot says, well, I don't know, if this is your reality. And people have actually taken their lives from prompts from AI. So we might laugh and say, society doesn't tell us who we are. But there are many people for whom this is their reality. Well, then the next thing is, well, do you decide who you are? This is a little bit of a harder question to answer. If you ask an individual person if they think society tells you who they are, most people will say no. But many people will say that you decide who you are. You decide your identity. And this is a hot button term in the world right now. Who do you identify as? But the deeper question is, are we something or someone just because we decide we are? Some of you might also laugh at that. Many people of faith will say no. Our identity is given by God. Nobody and no thing can change that. I think many of us are like, yes, that sounds good. I like that. But is the question answered now? Is that the end of the story? No. Because if we look at the world, it's not that simple, is it? If we just are children of God, then why do we look at the situation in the world and see people not acting like children of God? If we look at the situation in the Middle East, do we see the actions of people who are living as God's children? If we drive down Colfax, okay, you know. If we drive down Colfax, do we only see people who are living as God's children? But do we see that as a living reality? Are people living that way? No. So this question isn't answered so simply. In our faith, we have an answer to this question, but it's a little complex, and it very much involves our participation. So I'm going to give you a little bit of excerpts from the Divine Principle. This is kind of like what we're going to start from here. We must first understand in what position, due to the fall, human beings came to stand in relation to both God and Satan. If the first human ancestors had not fallen, but had reached perfection and become one in heart with God, then they would have lived relating only with God. However, due to their fall, they joined in a kinship of blood with Satan, which compelled them to deal with him as well. Immediately after the fall, when Adam and Eve had the original sin but had not yet committed any subsequent good or evil deeds, they found themselves in the midway position. A position between God and Satan where they were relating with both. As a consequence, all their descendants are also in the midway position. So this is a little different from the way most Christians see us and our relationship with God. For most Christians, the idea is not actually that we are born as God's children. From most Christians' perspective, we are born into sin. Okay, so it's like God and Satan. Once we accept Jesus as our Lord and Savior, then we are grafted as adopted children. of God. And we are transferred from here to there. And that's it. And of course, if you prod, they will say, yes, of course, we should do good works. As God's child, that is naturally what we should be compelled to do. And we should live as Jesus would live. But technically, everything after accepting Jesus is kind of irrelevant. It's only black or white, heaven or hell. We, however, believe that each person's core identity, Natasha, our core identity, as, like you said, at our creation is that of God's child. But because of the influence of the fall, evil and fallen nature have their hooks in us as well. And we begin our lives in that midway position, claimed by both God and Satan. So I'm going to skip to... So how does God separate Satan from fallen people who stand in the midway position? Satan relates with them on the basis of his connection with them through lineage, right, through the fall. Therefore, until people make a condition through which God can claim them as his own, there is no way God can restore them to the heavenly side. On the other hand, Satan acknowledges that God is the creator of human beings, right? Our original identity is made in the image of God. Unless Satan finds some condition through which he can attack a fallen person, he also cannot arbitrarily claim him for his side. Therefore, a fallen person will go to God's side if he makes good conditions, and to Satan's side if he makes evil conditions. So it's based on our conditions, our decisions and actions, that we come closer to our true identity, or we smother it. I'm sure if you sit and reflect for a minute, if you look back on your life, you can find moments where you made a choice and it was very clear if that choice led you closer to God or further away from it. I will argue we are making these choices all the time. Many times they're small and the results are maybe hardly noticeable, but sometimes we make really big ones. For me, one of those moments was in my decision to continue on my missions program. At this point, I had done about 2.5 years on missions program, already a long time. And I was kind of looking at the end of it, coming up soon, and of the prospect of going home. But I was also given the opportunity to do one more year after I finished my 3rd year in the role of staff and like training others. I suddenly found myself more challenged by this decision than I had probably in any other decision of my life. And it sounds kind of silly. It's like it's just another year of a program. That's kind of what it looks like just objectively from the outside. But for me, it was much, much deeper than that. I realized that this decision was representing a choice for me in what direction I wanted my life to go and how I wanted to really live. Because I already knew myself. I knew that I would be very comfortable at home, be very happy in many ways. If you know my home, you understand why. And if I were to even go really deeper, actually I think it's like an ancestral pull towards home. My dad, as soon as he received hometown mission, was like, we're gone. That's just always where he wanted to be, always, forever, and that's the only thing. And his ancestors had been in that land for generations. And I think I had that same kind of like, this is it, this is home, this is where I belong. And that's what was pulling me. It was very appealing. But I didn't, so you could say, well, why not just do another year and then go home? But for me, it wasn't that. It was like, if I'm going to do another year, I am declaring in front of God and the people that I'm leading and taking care of that I am going to live my life for the sake of God. It would be disingenuous of me to take a leadership position and tell people they should live for God and then go home and be my comfortable little self. I couldn't, it's like it had to be one or the other. And up until that point, I had never really had such a hard time doing the right thing. I've always felt like I've been well guided, well protected in my life. And doing good things usually resulted in good actions, so it was like, sure. And good results. But this one, it's kind of, some people would say, well, there's an obvious right choice here. But I had never actually faced the feeling that I did not want to do what was right. I didn't. Which led me to kind of resisting God in all ways. Like, I don't want to do this. But it was hard to be like, no to God. So then I had to like question God. Well, maybe this is all just made up. Maybe your parents are really just, like, they're either the messiahs or they're just absolutely crazy. Completely. Possible. And so I went down this long rabbit hole of questioning and praying, trying to figure out, what is all this? And is this something I'm actually on board with, actually living my life this way? What really got to me and what really caught my heart was I had a prayer with God. And I was just honest. And I was like, I just miss my home. And it was like God saying back, I know, me too. But I don't have one. And it was, for me, it's just like gut punch. I have a home. I can go anytime. I go many times. You guys know. Sometimes I'll drive 3 or 4 times a year, 15 hours one way to get there. I can always go back. And God feels the same way. God yearns for that home. But there's not a home here on earth for him yet. And for me, that changed everything. And I thought, well, if I could create a little piece of heaven on the earth for God to dwell in and for God to go to and be like, I'm comfortable, I'm happy, I'm home, then for me, that was worth it. So I decided to do another year. And honestly, doing another year was just another year. It was just a program. I won't say that doing another year of missions made me into that person. It was honestly a really hard year. But the crucial point was for me to make my decision, right? I was in that midway position, and to make a decision to choose God and declaring my intention to live a life that God could use and find comfort in. I'm also not saying that returning home would have been evil, okay? Mom and Dad, if you're listening. But I just know myself. I know that I would have been more focused on myself, on my comfort, my own personal desires, and that my perspective and my future would have narrowed very quickly from that point. So back to the original question, what is our core identity? Is our identity something we make or something we discover? And are you who you decide you are? So I believe, from my understanding of, one, the divine principle, through prayer and through my experience, that our core identity are bones, okay? Black bones. Our core identity is that of God's child. That is who we were created as, in God's image. Each and every one of us, an individual embodiment of truth that reflects God's heart and character and beauty. We all have black bones. Even in Jeremiah. Oh, I gotta go back now. Went backwards. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. So we have black bones, but it is our responsibility to recognize it, to come into alignment with that identity through the life that we live. So it's like a meter, right? A lot of Christians, it's black and white, one or the other, heaven or hell. But I see it more like a meter, right? From side to side, and we start in the midway position. The more good conditions, the more good choices, the more good actions we make, the more we end up resonating with God, right? We push the meter this way. And the closer we get this way, the more it's like we're become a tuning fork with God. We're resonating on the same wavelength, the same frequency, which not only allows us to become better people, but actually allows us to experience God's love more frequently as a reality. The closer we get to this side, the better life gets. Not just the harder because we have to make hard decisions and do good things, but it actually gets better. And the further we go, the more natural it becomes to respond in heavenly ways to the situations we're faced with. So we push the meter closer to God with each good decision we make. I'll let you envision the other side. So the question, do we decide who we are? The people who say yes, in a way, you are right. Because we're the ones who are pushing the meter. God can't do that for us. We decide what our life looks like every day with the choices and actions we make. But the most core identity that we possess is that of God's child. No one can change it, no one can take it away. But the realization of that identity, right, the fulfillment of that potential is reliant on our conditions. So the way we present ourselves, the things we do, many people live their whole life in their feathers and skin and their meat without ever looking at the bones. So I have some analogy, or what's it called? Yeah, kind of analogies for like what these feathers and things are. The feathers are what people see, right? When we look at the chicken, like, wow, that's striking. You can tell something about it by looking. So the feathers are how we present ourselves to the world. You can totally decide this for yourself. You can present yourself however you want. How you dress, the words you say, the places you go, the things you buy, how you spend your time and energy and money. But you can manipulate this however you want. You can actually present yourself as a very good church member without much effort. But what color is the skin of your chicken? Right? If you lift up the feathers, and so our family members know the skin that we have, right? We can't only present feathers forever to people. People who know us well know what color our skin is. This is what people see when they look closer, right? When they really get to know you. Do your actions align with how you present yourself? Are you living the way that you say you are? Does the skin match the feathers? But what is the meat? I think that the meat is our core beliefs about ourselves. And this is a little harder to look at, harder to figure out. And this is still up to us. We decide our core beliefs about ourselves. But the bones we can't change. This is what is given by God. Doesn't matter what you say. Doesn't matter what you believe. We're all designed with God's hand, with God's heart, and God's image. But everything else is our responsibility. The feathers are easy to change. The skin, though, takes practice and good habits. It really does take effort. When the meat is a serious endeavor, it's very hard to change our core beliefs about ourselves. If I believe from my experiences or past trauma that I am worthless, it's very hard to change that, but it is possible. If I believe that, what are some people's core beliefs about themselves? Some people do believe I am God's child. Some people believe I am a loner and I don't need anybody else. And they live their life in that way. If we want to change our meat, if we want to change our core beliefs about ourselves, this takes deep inner work. This takes a lot of prayer, a lot of reading. It might require help from counselors. It might require support, a lot of support from the people in our lives and our families. But core beliefs about ourselves can also change. The good thing is, as the music ministry is saying, we are fully known by God. So we can show feathers to other people, but God sees straight through them. God knows the things that we do, why we do them. God knows our core beliefs about ourselves, and he sees straight through all of that to our bones. And when God sees us, God sees our potential. God sees his image reflected in us. I believe that when we see with God's eyes at any person, we can find the most incredible qualities. Even in the most difficult people. Sometimes Mike and I have conversations about someone, and we're like, oh, this person can be really hard, but we can see what the potential is because we see God's nature in this person. God looks at all of us that way. So I think God has compassion, right? If all of our feathers and skin and beliefs are not aligned yet, God knows why. God has compassion for us, and God will help us every step of the way. I really believe every good condition we make, God takes that and multiplies it, right? We talk about, in the divine principle in our faith, we talk about our 5% portion of responsibility, which is 100% of effort. But if I do everything I can do, even if it isn't much, if I do it for God, God takes that and fills in all the gaps. When people talk about miracles, I think this is what miracles is. God has already prepared everything for our success, for our goodness, for our future, for our hope. And when we can do the thing that is hard to do, even if it's little, God turns a miracle out of that. So God fully knows us and is ready to work with us. But in the end, it's our responsibility to make the decisions and actions to fully realize our identity and potential as God's children. So I'll leave you with that today. Please join me in prayer. Most beloved Heavenly Parent, thank you so much for a beautiful spring morning. Thank you for being with each one of us. You know us so well. You know our lives. You know our victories. You know our failures. You know the journey that we've taken to come to this point. You understand us and you embrace us. And I just believe you're encouraging us and believing in us that we can come closer to you. Every day is an opportunity, whether through big or small choices, big or small actions, that we can step closer to you, that we can resonate with you and find you more fully, and not just as a concept in our life, but as a reality. Thank you for being with us on this journey. I pray that we can go forward intentionally, not just living day to day according to society or to our own beliefs about ourselves, but really looking for your design and purpose in us. We are really beautifully made in your image, and I pray that as we go forward, we can also find that in each other, in our families, in our children, in our parents, in our co-workers and neighbors, the people that we meet, and we can recognize and pull out that goodness in each person. I offer this message and time to you in my name, Michael Adonia Hentrick, a blessing to your family. Amen and adieu. Thank you.